listen to it, so it's not just so you can test your audio and that kind of stuff. And I thought it was copyright free music because I googled copyright free music and I paid a license for copyright free music, and turns out it wasn't copyright free music. So I demand a refund, number one, but also I decided the best thing to do is not gamble, because even if you yank something off the internet and you pay for it and you think it's copyright free, Google, YouTube, Facebook, a lot of these other places, they don't care. They're going to tell you you're violating somebody's rights. You're infringing on someone's copyright. And so what I decided to do is just scrap the copyright free music because it wasn't copyright free anyway. And what? I'm doing great, Dan. Dan Bongino just walked by, so sorry. Anyway, listen, I've only got one more minute to vamp. Only one more minute to vamp, and then we're going to start the show. So this is the new introduction. It's not going to be musical. It's just going to be, and maybe I'll sing. Hey, this is me getting ready for the show. Maybe I won't. But anyway, it's very, do you remember the Gary Shandling show, or It's Gary Shandling show, or whatever? They had this theme song that was just kind of this guy singing, hey, here's the theme song. Maybe I'll come up with one of those. And that way I know that I'll own it. I know that there won't be any issues. I know that there won't be any problems with it. I'll know that I can just use it copyright free forever and ever and ever again. If anyone, you know what I should do? I should get a song written for me. I should probably just bring back the Mark Kaye Show song. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're going to start Mark Kaye Saves the Republic here in just about 10 seconds. If you're watching the countdown, probably there's like 10 seconds left. 7, 6, 5, 4. Anyway, enjoy the show. Ta-da! I have 1 hour. That's what they tell me. They tell me I have 1 hour at noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. They cut the power, they cut the cables, they cut the internet, and then we're done. Hopefully we're right on that. They told me I have till noon Central, which is 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and I'm holding them to it. But man, this place is already a construction site. Media Row, where we've been broadcasting live now the entire week for the RNC here in Wisconsin, is it is a shell of what it used to be. You can probably see I'm the only person left here on my row. It's me and the guys from iHeartRadio. I think Clay and Buck it doesn't matter, but they're up there and we're here, and there's forklifts. You can hear them. Listen. There's forklifts backing up, and you can hear the beeping. There's like diesel engines driving by. I had a beautiful red carpet here all week, and the guys were like, sir, move your table back 3 inches, and they rolled up the red carpet. So now it's just a concrete floor if the acoustics sound different. But it's okay, because we've got 1 hour, and I'm going to try to get everything in, because, man, yesterday was phenomenal. Yesterday at the RNC, when Donald Trump took to the stage and he accepted the nomination for president for the Republican Party for 2024, it was one of the most incredible experiences probably of his life, definitely of my life, and for the lives of the thousands and thousands and thousands of MAGA faithful who were there. It was an experience, a party, an atmosphere unlike any I had ever seen. And his speech last night, which I will share clips of with you in just a minute. His speech, keep in mind, I have seen probably, I would say, over 100 Donald Trump speeches. I've seen dozens live. I've seen dozens more on the internet or on television. I've seen speech after speech after speech for the last 8 years. This speech, clocking in at 93 minutes, was not just the longest acceptance speech in history. This was the best Donald Trump speech I and probably a lot of other people have heard. This speech was touching, chilling, funny, heartwarming, inspiring. It showed that Donald Trump knows, because you think about it, you're thinking, Donald Trump, everyone talks about how aged our politicians are. And Donald Trump is, 78 years old, pushing 80 years old. And this guy is learning new stuff every single day. This guy is, dare I say, maturing every single day. And the vision he laid forth for America in the second Donald Trump term, it's just outstanding. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. Plus, I had a really funny experience with Laura Loomer and Jake Tapper, which I have to share with you because it just entertained me to no end. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what happened with Hulk Hogan and Tucker Carlson. It's so interesting. The two biggest responses other than Donald Trump that we got at the RNC, I think all week, number one was Tucker Carlson, and number two was Hulk Hogan. In fact, let me play you. This was Tucker Carlson coming out. Listen to Listen to the crowd just go ballistic.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome journalist, author, and American citizen, Tucker Carlson.
So fun! Thank you! Oh, this is wild. Thank you! Good to see you.
And it went on and went on. But everyone was on their feet, by the way. Everyone, as soon as and I love that they introduced him as American citizen, journalist and American citizen Tucker Carlson. And he walks out to the podium and everybody jumped up and they were loud and they were raucous and they were clapping. And that didn't even really do it justice. My eardrums were ringing from how loud the reception was for Tucker Carlson. They loved him. Incidentally, CNN cut coverage of the convention when Tucker Carlson came out, and Fox News' Jesse Waters made some quip at the end about how something like, you may remember Tucker Carlson from the 8 o'clock hour here on Fox News. But the other one was Hulk Hogan, who was a surprise. Hulk Hogan came in last minute. There were a lot of surprises that we found out. I heard 50 Cent was going to be there. I didn't see him. Kid Rock showed up. Who else? Dana White made it off of vacation, but Elon Musk was reportedly going to be there. He didn't come at the last minute, but Hulk Hogan shows up, and man, Hulk Hogan was the perfect person to speak at the RNC or be himself at the RNC when he ripped his. Well, here I have it.
Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring.
Why? What is that? That's supposed to be Hulk Hogan. Why is that? Hold on. That's Donald Trump. I got Hulk Hogan right here. Hang on. Let me get down to the. Let me get down to it. Here we go. I have Hulk Hogan. I'm using this new system, and I'm still obviously.
Last time I put up.
But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero? And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Hold on. What? Why can't you hear me? Oh, there we go. I know you guys couldn't hear me there for a minute. Hey, listen. I grew up. I'm 49. I grew up. I don't know if you guys could hear me or not, but I grew up and I watched all the Hulk Hogan stuff. I watched Hulk Hogan every weekend. I watched all Jake the Snake. I watched Iron Sheik. I watched Macho Man Randy Savage, and every single middle-aged dude, and a whole bunch of middle-aged women too. Every single middle-aged dude that was there had the same reaction to Hulk Hogan popping back up. It was incredible. It really jolted the energy through the entire arena, and Donald Trump himself got up and was smile. You couldn't help but smile. You can't help but smile when Hulk Hogan rips off his shirt and reveals a Trump Vance shirt underneath. That's just something that's going to make you giddy. I don't care who you are. And we're going to get to Donald Trump's speech here in just a minute. But I do want to say a couple things. First of all, it's interesting to me, and I knew that at the end of the convention last night, that the breakdown was going to begin, that they were going to transform Milwaukee, Wisconsin back into Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But I didn't realize how quickly it all happened. And I was walking back here to Media Row this morning at about like 8 o'clock, and all the security is gone. We went from having every single police officer in the country within a 12-block radius to 0 police officers. Secret Service, gone. The helicopter, gone. They had a drone for 5 days flying around the city. That's gone. the traffic, like I used to be able to just walk down the middle of the street because the streets were all closed. This morning, there's horns and cars, and I had to stop at a stoplight. It was really a bizarre experience how quickly they get back to business. There were cranes in front of the RNC, in front of the Pfizer Forum, and they're taking down all the logos and the banners, all the Jersey walls, and the police barricades are being loaded on the backs of trucks. Pardon me. And it was, I'll be honest with you, it was a little sad. It was a little sad. I didn't have to, I have this credential that they gave me. It's called a post credential, but nobody really even asked to see it. I probably just could have walked on in here, which maybe isn't the best thing in the world. But it was a little sad this morning because the week was so great. And it's like I always tell my kids, I go, if you're sad when something's over, that means that you really enjoyed it while it was going on. And I really, really enjoyed this while it was going on. Before we get to Donald Trump and before we get to Joe Biden, because look, there's big Biden news too. Joe Biden's campaign, Joe Biden's Twitter is determined that this guy is staying in the race, but nobody else on the Democrat side is. Kamala Harris is already out, and she's campaigning in North Carolina. I'm sure you've got some other people who are, J.B. Pritzker and that Gavin Newsom fella. I'm sure you got some other people lined up who are just itching to be her running mate when Joe Biden does apparently drop out of the race. And the Democrats are really, like, they're not letting this guy off the hook. They're threatening him, and I'll tell you what they're threatening him with here in just a minute. But first, let me tell you what happened last night when I got to. So I get to the arena, right? So here's what happens. I get to Pfizer, and typically what I would do is I would stick around Media Row all day. I would go catch a couple speeches. I would go home and rest. But I knew that this was going to be a big night, and I knew it was going to be a long night. So I went home and I took a little nap, got prepared, showered, changed my shirt, went back down to Pfizer about 6:30 or so p.m. That's when the prime time. I got there about 30 minutes or so before Tucker Carlson took the stage. And as I'm walking through the media entrance, I didn't time this. I didn't know what was happening. I just stumbled on it. As I was walking through the media entrance, I immediately hear a familiar voice. And it's the voice of Laura Loomer, our good friend. And Laura Loomer, but it's not her saying, "Hey, Mark, how are you?" It's her saying, are you going to apologize for the inflammatory rhetoric, Jake Tapper? And I look up, and Laura Loomer is loomering Jake Tapper live right in front of my face. I couldn't have planned it better. I look over, and Laura Loomer's to my right with a camera, and Jake Tapper's to my left with some of the biggest bodyguards I've ever seen. One of them knocked me into the wall. So all of a sudden, I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's two ways that this could go. I could just let her go, and I could just go through security and ignore it. Or I could follow it, because I'll be honest with you, it's really entertaining to me. And so I followed Laura Loomer. Now, keep in mind, we were walking in the building. We were outside. Me, Laura Loomer, Jake Tapper, big black bodyguards all around him. And for the next, 8 minutes, I followed Laura Loomer following Jake Tapper. And I have to tell you, they put CNN so far in this arena. I think they did it on purpose. Jake Tapper has to use the regular media entrance, and CNN is so far away from the regular media entrance. I'm pretty sure that's on purpose, because Jake Tapper for 8 minutes had to have Laura Loomer screaming and yelling at him. I'm not going to play you all 8 minutes, but I'm going to play you. Here's a little bit of what happened.
Have some courage for once. Apologize for all of your fake news at CNN that has led to this attempted assassination of President Trump, Jake. Shameful behavior from CNN. You guys have blood on your hands. You have blood on your hands, Jake. When are you going to apologize to the American people for lying about President Trump for years? When are you going to call out Joe Biden for saying that it's time to put President Trump in a bullseye? Come on, you're always talking so much shit.
I'm sorry. I tried to cut it off. I tried to cut it off to keep it safe for work. And then, so he's waiting for the elevator, by the way, which is kind of a weird move. And then he decides, you know what, we got to just take the stairs because it's too long. So we all ran up the stairs, and it's like 3 flights of stairs. It's far. And so we're running up these 3 flights of stairs, and then we're running down the hallway, and Laura Loomer she books it, man. These people move fast, and these bodyguards are like, I'm trying to get my phone in there, and then we have to go through a hallway, and one of the bodyguards goes, "Excuse me," and literally elbows me into the wall. And I was thinking to myself, well, that is not at all polite. And then we finally made it to CNN, and I turned it off, and I pulled Laura aside, and I was like, hey, just tell everyone what happened. And she was very colorful in her description. Guys, look who I just ran into, Laura Loomer. And by ran into, I mean I had to chase her 8 minutes through the fight. What were you doing?
We just Loomer Jake Tapper, and he doesn't want to answer the question about why he has called Trump Hitler, why he has pushed nearly 8 years of fake news that has led to somebody almost putting a bullet in Donald Trump's head. This is our night tonight. This is our night to celebrate Donald Trump as our Republican nominee for president. We don't need these and these bastards in the fake news media who have lied about President Trump and almost got him killed, lying about our night tonight. These people need to go to hell, and eventually they're all going to be irrelevant because independent media is going to replace them. We're going to have a reawakening in this country, a reawakening, and soon these mainstream media motherfuckers aren't going to be able to walk the street without people calling them out.
It's Laura Loomer, everybody. I mean, I don't know if it's, I know you watch it online, and I know you've, it's so much more entertaining in person. It was fascinating to see this kind of thing happen live. And Jake Tapper, again, he had his little iPods in. I was going to ask him what he was listening to, but he wasn't really answering any questions. I like to think it's my podcast. But anyway, I mean, this was par for the course. This was not the first day. This was day 4. She'd been doing this every single day. The best part was we start off in the media section, we go up the stairs, but then once you exit the stairwell, you're in the Pfizer Forum, you're in the main arena, and you're surrounded by people, delegates and onlookers and Trump fans, and just, you have to walk. If you're the media person, you have your own separate entrance, but then you have to walk down the main concourse to get to the CNN booth, to get to the Fox News booth, to get to the Newsmax booth. They're all right off of the main concourse. So Jake Tapper has to be part of the public, domain. And as soon as the door opens, and as soon as we walk into the Pfizer Forum, Laura Loomer at the top of her lungs goes, "Hey, everybody, it's Jake Tapper." And the entire place, boo! It was boo! And it was, like I said, it was really entertaining. Anyway, I was very proud to be part of that moment. Listen, we're going to get to the Trump clips here in just a minute. We're going to get to what's going on with Joe Biden. We're going to get to what's going on, with the FBI and this shooting. Apparently there was a thing, but yesterday I wrote a little ditty and in honor of 50 Cent, coming by, which he didn't do, so that was kind of weird. But I wrote a little ditty and I played it, and people have been saying, "Can you please play that again?" And I said, absolutely I can. In fact, I created a little video around it too. So if you missed our Trump fight song yesterday, here it is. Shooters on the roof. Trump is in his scope. Secret Service can't do nothing cause the friggin' roof is sloped. Shots ring out, the whole crowd panics. Trump gets shot, his right ear gets nicked. He hits the floor hard, his knees get bruised. He jumps right up and says, "Let me get my shoes." Blood on his face, but Trump's all right. That's when he throws his fist up and yells, "Fight, fight, fight! Fight, fight, fight! Fight, fight, fight! Fight, fight, fight!" Trump throws up his fist and yells, "Fight, fight, fight!" The Democrats are screwed. They know they're gonna lose. Their man got COVID, plus he's totally confused. He can barely speak. He can barely walk. He says stupid ass crap every time he talks. He mumbles and stumbles and bumbles and grumbles. Every time he's on TV, his poll numbers tumble. Joe Biden is in bed with a real bad cold. Trump's at the RNC with a bullet hole. Joe will be in bed at 9 tonight. Donald Trump will be on stage yelling, "Fight, fight, fight!" Yeah, there we go. By the way, fun fact about that. couple of fun facts about that song. Number one is I had to I re-recorded it a little because the first time it was good, but I wanted to re-record it, really get a good quality recording. So I was sitting here in Media Row yesterday and I started yelling, "Fight, fight, fight!" And then I, recorded it, and then it, "Fight, fight, fight!" And about 30 seconds later, 3 police officers come over and they go, "We weren't sure if there was a real fight or if you were just doing something." I go, "Oh no, I was just," I was recording a song. They're like, "Okay." For a minute, we thought there was like a real fight. But also, they kind of took their time. So if there was a real fight, I don't know. I mean, they wouldn't have really been here in time to break it up. And then the second thing that happened, I'm standing at the Pfizer Forum. This woman runs up to me and she goes, "Mark K, I've been watching you for years on social media, on Newsmax. I love what you do. Can I get a picture with you?" And I said, "Absolutely, you can." So we stand there and I get her camera. We take a selfie. And she goes, "Oh, this means so much to me. I'm such a big fan." And I said, "What do you do for a living?" And she holds up her badge. She goes, "Oh, I'm with the United States Secret Service." And I thought it was odd, number one, that a member of the United States Secret Service could just stop and take a selfie. But I guess, hey, these are people too. And the Secret Service, has been under a lot of scrutiny since the assassination attempt on President Trump over the weekend. So I look at her and I go, "You're with the Secret Service?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, it's a good thing we're standing on level ground, huh?" And she laughed. So then I knew. And that could have gone either way. I could have ended up in a jail cell somewhere, but I didn't. It was actually she had a nice sense of humor about it. So all right, let's get to the speech, ladies and gentlemen, because once again, this was not just the longest speech in recorded history for a presidential candidate accepting a nomination, but it was also, I believe, one of Donald Trump's best speeches. And it started with Lee Greenwood. My good buddy Lee Greenwood, who, by the way, I'm on a first name basis with now. I don't know if I told you this. I may have told you yesterday, but before I got to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, had never met Lee Greenwood. Now we're on a first name basis. He walks by the booth. He goes, "Hey, Mark," and I go, "Hey, Lee," and that's it. And he's standing up there. He sings his song, "God Bless the USA" live. Everybody's singing. Donald Trump comes out. He's waving to the crowd. And it was really phenomenal. It was they had this other thing too. So what they did was they cleared the stage, and Donald Trump's podium was down, and all of a sudden Lee Greenwood's singing, and you think Donald Trump's going to come out, but the curtain raises, and Donald Trump's standing there with a huge light up sign behind him that says Trump, and it was and the place just erupted. But then he came out and he started off in his traditional Trump way by thanking everybody, but he started off, and a lot of people were wondering how much of the story he was going to tell about what happened on Saturday. He went into detail about the story of his assassination attempt on Saturday in Pennsylvania. Listen carefully. This was Donald Trump taking the stage yesterday.
Let me begin this evening by expressing my gratitude to the American people for your outpouring of love and support following the assassination attempt at my rally on Saturday. As you already know, the assassin's bullet came within a quarter of an inch of taking my life. So many people have asked me, "What happened? Tell us what happened, please." And therefore, I will tell you exactly what happened, and you'll never hear it from me a second time because it's actually too painful to tell.
This is Donald Trump coming out, and I got to be honest with you, it was an interesting thing for him to start with, and it was an interesting thing for him to say. For Donald Trump to come out and really highlight and say, "Look, everyone's been asking me what happened. Everybody wants to know the story about what happened." He said, "I will tell you." And what's really interesting about this is he said, number one, "I'm only going to tell you once." And that is very uncharacteristic of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not the kind of guy that ever tells anything once. If you've been to his rallies before, if you've been to seen any of his speeches, Donald Trump tells you things over and over and over again. It's like that's what you do. That's how you build a wall. Mexico's going to pay for it. Drill, baby, drill. All that kind of stuff. I mean, that's how you get people. Make America great again. That's how you get people to remember the important things. But he said, "I'm only going to tell this story one time." And the second thing he said was because it's too painful. And we've never really heard Donald Trump say anything about pain. And we've heard him talk about strength. We've heard him talk about fighting. We've heard him talk about resilience. We've heard him talk about greatness. We've heard him talk about taking them on and I'm standing in their way, their way, and all that other stuff. We've heard Donald Trump be Donald Trump. Never once in my years now of attending rallies and attending speeches and watching him on TV and writing books about him and covering the campaign, never once have I ever heard Donald Trump say, "It's too painful." And I think he deliberately did it here to humanize himself once again, because that is the difference in this campaign. This campaign this week was all about humanizing Donald Trump, was letting everybody who may be – look, the MAGA faithful are ready to vote. We've been ready to vote forever. We've been ready to vote since 4 years ago. But there are people out there who need to see the human side of Donald Trump, because all they get from the media is he's a horrible person, he's a tyrant, he's a criminal, he's a crook, he's a puppet for Putin, he's a Russian spy. That's all they ever get, over and over and over again. And now what they've been doing all week long, whether it's the personal stories. Dana White came out and introduced Donald Trump and told a personal story about him. Franklin Graham came out and prayed and told a personal story. You had Don Jr., you had Kai, his granddaughter, come out and talk about her grandpa and talk about how he gives her candy like other grandpas do, and how he calls her during school to talk about golf. This is what they were trying to do, and Donald Trump himself did it when he said, I'm going to tell you this story, but listen carefully. I'm only going to tell you one time because it's too painful.
Behind me and to the right was a large screen that was displaying a chart of border crossings under my leadership. The numbers were absolutely amazing. In order to see the chart, I started to, like this, turn to my right and was ready to begin a little bit further turn, which I'm very lucky I didn't do, when I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me really, really hard on my right ear.
I mean, this is a description that is not, I mean, think about this. What he's doing is he's telling you step by step what happened. I was looking, he's about behind me and to the right was this chart, and we've all seen it, him looking at the chart. And he goes, I looked at this chart and I felt something hit me really hard in the ear. I mean, this is a step-by-step, very deliberate, very intense description of what happened. He's not, there's no allegory in it. There's nothing. He's not making this into more than it's supposed to be. He's just telling you what happened, because what happened is so horrible that it's going to do the duty or do the job of humanizing him in and of itself. Because how many people can actually, think about this, how many people on this planet, let alone in politics, actually can stand up and tell you about the day that somebody tried to assassinate them by shooting them in the head? How many people can tell you about the time that an assassin's bullet nicked their ear and came this close to piercing their skull and ending their lives? I mean, how many? There's a handful. Most of the people who are the victims of attempted assassinations become victims of assassination. Very few people who are alive today have lived through it. Donald Trump is one of them. No one else has a story like this, or very few people do. And he continued.
I said to myself, wow, what was that? It can only be a bullet. And moved my right hand to my ear, brought it down. My hand was covered with blood, just absolutely blood all over the place. I immediately knew it was very serious, that we were under attack, and in one movement proceeded to drop to the ground. Bullets were continuing to fly as very brave Secret Service agents rushed to the stage, and they really did. They rushed to the stage.
By the way, Donald Trump and his campaign did not shy away from the imagery. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Rumble, if you're watching this anywhere, you can see that as he's speaking, as he's telling the story, the bullets whizzing by, they have the shot. They have the actual image of the bullet whizzing by his head. When he's talking about, falling to the ground, they have the shot of him falling to the ground, blood coming out of his ear. They're talking about the Secret Service. And he gave a nod to the Secret Service. He said, look, the Secret Service did a great job. They rushed. He goes, they really did. They rushed. He wasn't going to badmouth the Secret Service. He wasn't going to say anything bad about the Secret Service, he wasn't going to call for the resignation of the Secret Service. Cheadle, what's her name? Special Agent Cheadle or whatever, the director of the Secret Service. We'll all do that. That's our job. We'll be happy to do that, but he's not going to do that on stage. He's going to say, look, these Secret Service people were great. And let's be honest, they were. Were they a little disorganized? Yes. Were they did they not look necessarily the part, or like they'd been properly trained, or like they were prepared? Yeah, there was some of that. Did they jump up, though, and run on top of the president and get him into the car and get him in the hospital? They did. So they did do their jobs. There's some new information out, which we'll get to here in just a minute about that. But I want to finish with Donald Trump, because he continued the very graphic and very gruesome description.
There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe, because I had God on my side. I felt that.
By the way, that was the moment that the liberal media really hated. I'm not going to play the clip, but Joy Behar today was very upset that Donald Trump said he had God on his side. mainly because I guess that means God's not on her side, which I'm going to be honest with you. I've never met God, and I'm not going to presume to speak for God. But I go to church and I've read the Bible, and I'm pretty sure that if God had to vote, I don't think he'd be voting for pro-abortion Catholic Joe Biden. I'm just saying, again, I'm not talking for God. I'm just saying from what I've heard, rumor has it God's not a big fan of abortion. Rumor has it God's not a big fan of homosexuality and pronouns and all that other kind of stuff. Rumor has it a lot of things that the Democrats do, like, mutilating children's bodily organs and changing genders and that kind of stuff. Oh, and atheists, all that. God's not a big fan of that kind of stuff. He loves everybody for sure. But when it came to, if he had to vote, if it was like God, we got a dead, it's a tie. We need you to just cast the deciding ballot. I'm pretty sure, I think we all saw on Saturday which side he would vote for. Donald Trump, and look, Donald Trump was intense. He was serious. He was heartfelt. He was telling everybody exactly what happened. He was going through exactly how it happened, but he was also having a little bit of fun. He still has his sense of humor. The chart he was talking, he never got to really reference the chart properly the way he wanted to. And the chart was fascinating. It showed immigration. It showed immigration during Donald Trump, how many illegal border crossings there were, how many deportations. It showed the crime. It showed everything. And then it showed after Donald Trump with Joe Biden. And it showed just how bad we're in it. It showed just how horrible Joe Biden is at this whole immigration thing, how Alejandro Mayorkas has basically put every single American in harm's way, how we all at any point could be the victim of immigrant crime. I mean, all of this stuff, all the illegal aliens, the MS-13 gang members, the cartels, the coyotes, the drug traffickers, the fentanyl, everything was on this chart. It was a pretty great chart. And he showed it. He goes, look, I want to show you this chart. The chart, he says, that actually saved his life.
Last time I put up that chart, I never really got to look at it. But without that chart, I would not be here today. Never got to look at it.
And as you can see, they had the chart everywhere. But that's the chart. That was the chart he was looking at. He was trying to explain to everybody just how bad illegal immigration is under Joe Biden. He showed people just how bad it was, how low it was when he was president, and then boom, 2020, everything skyrockets, everything's bad. That's the chart that's the chart that saved Donald Trump's life, and hopefully could save our lives, because guess what? Donald Trump's ahead. There's a new poll out today. Donald Trump is leading Joe Biden nationally and in 7 swing states. You know how many swing states there are? 7. There's 7. There's North Carolina, kind of. There's Georgia. There's Arizona. There's Nevada. There's Wisconsin. There's Michigan. And there's Pennsylvania. Those are the states that you need to win if you want to be president of the United States. Those are the states that the winner is going to need. All of them would be a slam dunk. Most of them would be great. But those are the battlegrounds. North Carolina, I think North Carolina is pretty solidly conservative at this point, and I think that Joe Biden's going to flounder in I don't think North Carolina is going to go blue. They haven't gone blue since Obama, and I don't think they will now. Also, you've got Arizona, which was an anomaly last election cycle, as well as Georgia, and I think they're both going to come back red. Nevada, Donald Trump has a huge lead in, and wouldn't you know it, Joe Biden had to dip out of Nevada before he could pander to the African Americans and the Latinos and try to bribe them into voting for him again, because he got COVID, quote unquote. He got Jovid, whatever that is, whatever weird, bizarre ailment Joe Biden gets that drags him off the campaign trail, so the Democrats can figure out how to pull him out of the race and insert Kamala without too much confusion. Anywho, so that's why Nevada's another important one, and then there's the Rust Belt where we are right now. I'm in Wisconsin. Right next door, you got Michigan and Pennsylvania, and those are the 3 biggies. When Donald Trump won Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania in 2016 and defeated Hillary Clinton, it was because he won Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. In 2020, you may remember, Donald Trump was winning Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. We all went to bed. We woke up, and lo and behold, all of a sudden, all of these ballots, all of these mail-in ballots, all of these absentee ballots, all of these votes just appeared, and we saw the straight vertical line where Joe Biden overtook Donald Trump in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania and quote unquote won election. And now Donald Trump says, look, we're not doing that anymore. We've got 100,000 legal representatives on the ground ready to go. We've got poll watchers at every location. We have a ground game like you've never seen before, and we are going to win Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. And right now, Donald Trump is winning Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. The Hill reports former President Trump is leading President Biden nationally and in 7 battleground states, according to a survey published Thursday. The Emerson College poll, sponsored by Democrats for the Next Generation, found 46% of registered voters say they support Trump, compared to 42% who chose Biden. 12% are undecided. So Joe Biden is losing nationally to Donald Trump. The pollster noted, however, that Biden's support dipped by 2 points since the poll was taken earlier this month, while Trump's has stayed the same. The closest race, according to the poll, is in Michigan, where Trump leads with 45% of support and Biden has 42% of support. Another 13% of respondents said they are undecided. Trump leads Biden by 5 percentage points in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Nevada. He leads by 6 in Georgia. He has a 7-point lead in both North Carolina and Arizona. The smallest lead he has right now is Michigan, where he's leading by 3 percentage points. And J.D. Vance, Rust Belt, hillbilly elegy superstar, is going to be spending a lot of time in Ohio and in Michigan and in Wisconsin, and he's going to be doing everything he can to pull those numbers even higher. Donald Trump is going to get back. The campaign begins now. The RNC is over, but the campaign just begins. It seems like this campaign has been going on for years, and it has. This is one of those unique times in history, because think about this, folks. Not since Grover Cleveland have we had a president who had 2 non-consecutive terms. Grover Cleveland was president, then he lost. Then he came back and he won. Was it Harrison? I even forget. I have to go check if my son were here, I'd ask him. But anyway, so Grover Cleveland, not since Grover Cleveland have we had a president, the only time it's ever happened, serve 2 non-consecutive terms. So really what Donald Trump has been doing for 4 years is campaigning. When he announced he was running again last November, he started campaigning. He campaigned through the primary. And now the RNC is over. He got the nomination. He named J.D. Vance as his vice president, presidential co-ticket person. And now that's it. Now the campaign actually begins. Now they're going to go back out and rally. There you're going to really start seeing the ads. I mean, I won't see the ads because I live in Florida. Look, here's the thing. You're not going to see ads if you live in Florida. You're not going to see ads if you live in Alabama. You're not going to see ads if you live in Tennessee. There going to be no Donald. You know where you're going to see the ads? You're going to see the ads in Michigan. You're going to see the ads in Wisconsin. You're going to see the ads in Pennsylvania. You'll probably see some in Nevada and Arizona and maybe North Carolina and Georgia. But you're good. If you want to see the Donald Trump. Here's the other thing, too. Think about this. We don't even really know. This is an interesting campaign, too, because now that Donald Trump has his ground game going, now that he's got J.D. Vance by his side, now that we've got the Trump-Vance ticket, now that we know who we want to vote for, they've got to go out and sell that to the undecideds and the moderates and the people who are still scratching their head going, gee, I just don't know. He's kind of a convict, isn't he? No, he's not. Those people have to be persuaded. And the interesting thing is that at this moment in time, we don't know who Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are actually going to be running against. And that's what makes this campaign difficult. That's what makes this campaign difficult. You can't run your typical Joe Biden attack ad because you don't know if Joe Biden's the one you need to be attacking. Come Monday, Joe Biden may not be the nominee anymore. It may be Kamala or somebody else. And we'll get to that here in just a minute. You know, there's 2 things I really love about broadcasting this week from Media Row. Number 1 is that I'm no longer the only guy in the room wearing makeup, which is nice. And the other is all of the accolades and all of the nice comments people have been making about my brand new book, Go Trump Yourself, 10 Ways to Live Like Trump in a Joe Biden Economy. And even Laura Trump yesterday when she was here mentioned it. I've been giving out copies to all of the Congress people we've been talking to and autographing them, which is weird. It's weird to have congressional people ask you to sign their stuff, but it happens. And a lot of you have already experienced Go Trump Yourself, either in the soft cover edition, or if you've gotten the ebook and the audiobook, or all three. A lot of people opt to get all three. You can even get multiple copies on our website right now, GoTrumpYourself.com. And in fact, let me show you some of the accolades that have been that we've gotten on the website. Here's the website. That's what it looks like. Live like Trump for only $19. Teresa Z writes, this book is hilarious. It's hard to find humor in the day-to-day chaos that is caused by our political elites. Obviously, she hasn't been listening. Well, I haven't been broadcast. Anyway, inspirational. One of the most honest and precise books about Trump. Wendy M says, this book is Trumpulous. It is a must read for those that love America and all it affords its U.S. loving patriots. And of course, if you don't like to read, that's okay. I read it for you. You can get the audiobook. Look, I'm not going to read all of these reviews, but I'm just going to show you. Everybody loves this. So if you haven't yet gotten your copy, go to GoTrumpYourself.com. GoTrumpYourself.com. It's only $19 plus shipping. We've got tons in the warehouse. We've got, oh, look, somebody in the corner. Julia from Montgomery, Texas, just bought a copy. Thanks, Julia. We'll get it out to you here in just a minute. Oh, here's a comment about me. Mark is straightforward and honest. He calls it as he sees it. He's a conservative with a sense of humor. William, I'm very touched. I'm very touched by that. GoTrumpYourself.com. GoTrumpYourself.com. Go there today for only $19 plus shipping. You can get your own copy of Go Trump Yourself. 10 ways to live like Trump in a Joe Biden economy. GoTrumpYourself.com. I would, at this juncture, hold up a copy of the book, but they're all gone. all the books I brought are gone. I gave them out. I signed them. It was really a great response. And by the way, I should point out, we are, as Laura Loomer pointed out in her tirade against Jake Tapper, we are now part of the independent media. We are independent. It's me. I'm as I watch all these other large broadcasting, you got Sirius XM over here, you've got Salem Broadcasting over there, NPR sitting right across from me, Westwood, all these other companies, they've got people, they got dudes. They got people, they've got folks packing for them. All the talent is gone, and they've got, the support staff who's now coming in and making sure that all the stuff gets back. That's not me anymore. I don't work for a large corporation anymore. It's me. I'm independent. I'm all by my lonesome, which means as soon as this broadcast is over, which is whenever they cut the power, I'm gonna have to pack up all this stuff myself. I'm gonna pull my banner off the wall, put it in a suitcase, and get it back on a plane. So we are independent, and every time you buy something from us, I don't like to beg. A lot of people take donations. Some people are like, please donate my Patreon or whatever. That's fine. I don't like to do that. I like to merchandise. I'm a capitalist. I will only take your money if I give you something in return. So if you want to support us, if you want to keep us going, then by all means, you purchase as many copies as you possibly can. We have not just the book, but there's a 3-pack you can buy, which is very popular. A lot of folks like the 6-pack so they can give them to their friends. And then there's also an ebook and audiobook version, which I would love for you to do. We're going to continue to merchandise, and we're going to continue to come up with more products and things that you like and that we can offer you, more offerings of Mark K merchandise and Mark K services. And maybe, we're talking about hitting the road too, because hitting the road is fun. Being in a live environment like this, it's really, you can sit in a room every single day and yell into a microphone. And I've been doing that for 20 years. I've been sitting in a room, yelling into a microphone, sitting in a room, yelling into a microphone. And that's fun. But man, when you are in a live room like this, well, there's not a lot of people up here, but typically when at the hustle and bustle, when you're on the floor and you're talking to people, just yesterday, and if you follow me on Instagram, I don't have the photos to pull up, but just yesterday in a 30-minute period, I hung out with and took selfies with so many people. Kat Kamek was there, of course. Russell Brand, Vivek Ramaswamy, swung by, Harris Faulkner. I mean, all these people that are not just conservatives, but are also in your industry. Dan Bongino, whose chair I still have. They didn't come and take Dan Bongino's chair yet, so I'm very excited. Just hobnobbing with like-minded people, feeling that energy. Talking shop. Mike Gallagher, who was complaining that I didn't have him on my show this week, but put me on his. Fair. That's a fair complaint. I'll give him that. I'll own that. All these people are just so fantastic, and they're so great. And being out and just soaking it all up, you get so much content. You get so many stories. You get to see Laura Loomer loomering Jake Tapper live, which is something that you don't get to see when you're just sitting in a room yelling into a microphone. So my plan is to do a lot more of these. Not, there's of course some natural things and natural events which would take place, which would warrant some kind of live broadcast or some kind of an event. For example, there is the actual election night party, which last time I hosted, I was not an independent journalist. Now I am. So I'm going to host a big, huge party in Jacksonville, Florida for election night. And and it's something that we could offer you as an incentive and sell tickets to, because again, I don't like to just beg. I like to give you something in return. We could hit the road. We have a lot of listeners in Dayton, Ohio still. We have a lot of people who are big fans in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Orlando, Florida, and all over. The inauguration is another one. I 100% wholeheartedly plan to be at the inauguration of Donald Trump, because I plan for Donald Trump to be the one getting inaugurated in January. I was at the last Donald Trump inauguration. I wholeheartedly plan to be at the next one. I'm not going to the DNC, however. Although, it's so funny because a lot of people that are here broadcasting, for example, Chip Brewster, who actually is on my, I didn't even realize how much I've seen this guy, because he's like he's a field reporter for The Hill and a couple of other things. And then the first time I met him, I thought he said his name was Chip Rooster. So this is funny. I go, hey, I'm Mark A. He goes, hi, I'm Chip Brewster. Chip Brewster. But I thought he said Rooster. So I go, oh. And he looks at me like, what? And I go, Rooster? No? And he goes, so then he just walked away. But one of the nicest guys ever. He's going to the DNC, and I don't think he's looking forward to it. There's a couple of other people that are like, yeah, I got to go to the DNC, and I am not looking forward to that at all, because it's usually the folks at the DNC are angrier. They're more bitter. They're less trustworthy. They're not funny. They don't like to have fun. All they're going to be doing is fetching the whole time. I mean, think about this. A room full of Joy Behars, thousands and thousands of Joy Behars for a week. God, it sounds awful. That sounds just awful. And this one's going to be even more chaotic because, as I said before, I pimped my book, Joe Biden may not be the nominee. Here's what's going on the Drudge Report. And again, take it with a grain of salt. Joe Biden's family discussing his exit plan from race. That is the big red headline. Joe Biden's family is discussing his exit plan from the race, which means Jill Biden and Hunter Biden are with Joe Biden, and they're trying to figure out how they're still going to get paid for their, for the rest of their lives. How are they going to, where's the honey coming from? They want to make sure that the honey train keeps chugging into their bank accounts, because Hunter's going to need some legal fees paid, and Jill's going to need some. Jill, don't mind the beeping; it's just the forklift in front of me. Jill's going to need a nice retirement. The mortgage on all those homes that they own. Let's face it, they probably pay cash. But they're discussing, how do we get Joe out of this race and still set ourselves up for the future? The White House is denying, of course, that Joe Biden will not be the nominee. But there's another article from Notice. Biden campaign schedules an all hands as defections grow. Listen to this. Listen to what the Democrats are planning. They don't want Joe Biden in the race anymore. Barack Obama is pressuring Joe to get out of the race. Nancy Pelosi is suggesting it's time for Joe Biden to go. And man, she's so old. If Nancy Pelosi says you've been around for a long time, you've been around for a long time, because she's been around since I think they ratified the Constitution. I have to double check that. Not only that, not only are Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi pressuring him, but now you've got Chuck Schumer supposedly. Hakeem Jeffries may come out and call for Joe Biden to Adam Schiff already has said Joe Biden is dragging us down like a 20-pound anchor. We need this guy out of here. So now get this. Democratic leaders, according to Notice, signaled in their most direct terms this week that they're prepared to leak their private conversations with President Joe Biden until he drops out of the 2024 race. So Joe Biden, up until this point, has refused to go anywhere. They're like, drop out of the race. So he goes, why? Hey, I got plenty of time. They're not going anywhere. Me and Vice President Trump are going to run for 4 more years. That's what Joe Biden's saying. Me and Vice President Trump and, the black man who's in charge of defense, that guy. That's what Joe Biden's out there saying. He's saying we got 4 more years in us. Well, these Democrats are saying, oh, yeah? Wait till I leak my private conversation with you where you, I don't know, probably called somebody some weird name or said something ridiculous or let fly with some state secret. You know that the Joe Biden we see on television and in interviews, the Joe Biden that falls up the stairs, the Joe Biden that can't remember the name of Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense, and refers to him as the black man, the Joe Biden who refers to Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump and refers to Trump as former Trump, all these little gaffes that he's been making for years, you know that's just a fraction. Those are just the public verbal discrepancies that we've seen. There's a whole bunch of other ones that have been kept private until now. The Democrats are now going to embarrass Joe into submission. They're going to embarrass Joe Biden by leaking all of the details of his dementia? I don't even know what you call it, of his ridiculousness, of his advanced age, of his inability to execute his office. They're going to start telling everybody. They're going to be like, one time I was with Joe Biden and he licked my nose. What? Yeah, he thought it. He said, "Hey, it looks like ice cream." I mean, I don't know that that's one of the things, but it's going to be stuff like that. These conversations, these text messages, these stories of Joe Biden are going to start leaking out because the Democrats want to embarrass him into submission. And if he's not going to go willingly, they are going to do whatever they can to make him go unwillingly. And then Kamala Harris rolls in to be the nominee, and it's got to be Kamala Harris. There's no way. Larry Elder was talking here at the RNC the other day, and he brought up a point that I've been bringing up for a long time, and pretty much anyone with a political sensibility or really just common sense will be able to tell you. Larry Elder said just yesterday again, Kamala Harris cannot be replaced. Kamala Harris is not only the vice president whose duty and job it is to step in should the president not be able to execute his office. And if Joe Biden can't execute the office of candidate, the likely choice would be Kamala Harris. She served as vice president for 3.5 years. By now, she should supposedly be able to do the job. I mean, hell, no one's going to do it worse than Joe Biden did. Well, I guess if anyone could do it worse than Joe Biden, it's probably Kamala. But she's also a black woman. And they're not going to, there's no way you can be the party of DE&I. There's no way you can be the party of diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's no way you can be the party of race baiting and pandering. There's no way you can be the party that is telling everybody that Donald Trump is a racist and Republicans are racist and they're these white supremacist extremists and then replace a black woman at the top of your ticket. It will be Kamala Harris. It will be Harris blank 2024. And what's interesting is you've got to figure out who they're going to put in the blank. And Kamala's biggest problem right now is, are they going to put somebody in the blank that they would prefer to have more than Kamala? Are they going to pick somebody who's way more qualified than Kamala to fill in the blank? Because if Harris blank looks more appealing as blank Harris, then she's got to watch her back. I mean, we know what the Democrat Party is capable of. We know what the left is capable of. They're capable of impeachment. They're capable of massive lawfare. They're capable of indictments. They're capable of convictions. They're capable of trying to bankrupt you. The liberals, the Democrats, the socialists, these DE&I people, these folks that are so power hungry that they will do anything to destroy anybody, not just Republicans. It's not just Donald Trump. Look, Donald Trump, their hands are, they know Donald Trump is probably going to win at this point, or at least they feel like Donald Trump's going to win. So what they need to do now is figure out a way to try to stop that from happening. Killing Donald Trump didn't work. Getting Joe Biden out of the race is step one. Putting somebody really attractive in that second spot under Harris blank, is step number two. And then if they like the person who's vice president more than President Harris, like I said, these people are capable of anything, and we've seen it. We've seen it just this past week in Butler, Pennsylvania. Listen, I have about, it looks like 6 more minutes before they pull the plug. 6 more minutes, and this whole place goes dark, and my internet, it's going to be like the airport yesterday. It's going to be, apparently, I bet it's going to be like trying to land a plane. All of a sudden, you hear all the planes got grounded? This is remarkable. During Donald Trump's speech, while he was in Wisconsin accepting the nomination, all of a sudden there was a massive glitch to the system. The whole thing, they had to ground all the planes. There were hospitals that were canceling surgeries. There was a massive computer hack, the largest one we've ever had, just so happened to correspond with the final night of the RNC. Interesting interesting. And now I don't know. I'm not flying out till tomorrow, thank God. But I imagine a lot of my counterparts and my peers here at the RNC are having some trouble getting on planes and getting on flights today because of this massive power outage. But that's what this place is going to look like. I got like 5 minutes now, and they're going to pull the plug, and then they're literally going to roll up the carpet that I'm sitting on, and they're going to take Dan Bongino's chair back to wherever it is that it came from. But before I go, I did want to share with you a couple of things that happened at the very end of Donald Trump's speech, because Donald Trump, after 93 minutes, concluded in the way that he always concludes, but I have to tell you, it was even more emotional, even more inspirational, even more exciting than before. This is from I didn't pull this from this is from my own phone. I was very close to Donald Trump when he was giving his speech, and this is from my own footage yesterday. Listen to how he wrapped up.
America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before. And quite simply put, we will very quickly make America great again. Thank you very much. God bless you, Wisconsin, and God bless the United States of America. A great country. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, everyone just went ape crap buck wild. It was these balloons fell, but I mean more balloons than you've ever seen. Red balloons, white balloons, blue balloons. Wait, red, white, yeah, gold balloons, huge. I mean there's some elderly people there, and these balloons were just popping them on the head, and they were kicking them around, and they started playing all the Italian opera. We may have sung. There may have been singing on my part.
His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining.
Yeah, that was a little bit of singing, and then we all went to the bar because that's what you do in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, you celebrate everything with beer and cheese. And I've had a lot of both of those over the past week. I need to probably go on a little bit of a diet. Listen, it's been so much fun this week here at the RNC, and I really appreciate you guys being here with me. I really appreciate you guys downloading the podcast. Thank you so much for all of your super chats on YouTube. If you want to throw in some super chats real quick before we go, that would be stellar because I need some cab fare to the airport again. Independent journalist now. Also, all of your Rumble rants. Thank you for purchasing your copies of Go Trump Yourself. Don't forget to go to gotrumpyourself.com. And most importantly, subscribe to this podcast. Even if you watch us live, pick up your phone and go to iTunes, go to Spotify, go to wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, and just hit the subscribe or hit the follow button. Because what that does is that automatically downloads the latest episode of this podcast to your phone. And that way it's always there ready for you to listen to. And if you don't listen to it because you already watched it, it doesn't matter. It counts as a download. and we need all the downloads we could get. So we definitely appreciate it. Look, I'll be back in Florida Monday, and I'm sure a lot of stuff's going to happen over the weekend. If we believe the hype, if we believe the rumor mill, Joe Biden will no longer be running for president come Monday. The best thing to do is keep listening because if that's the case, I'll let you know exactly what happened and exactly where we go from here. All right, I'm wrapping it up, man. They're coming. They're looking at. They're eyeing me. There's a guy over there. He's got his hand on the plug. He's just ready for me to wrap it up. So I will say thank you again. Goodbye. Keep listening, by the way, because we got a lot more to do. We got a lot of work to. Like I said, the campaign begins right now. We've got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of people to convince. We got a lot of stuff to say. We've got a lot of evil to fight. We've got a lot of praying. We've got a lot of information to get out. We've got a lot of inspiration still there. We've still got to fight every single day so that you, me, Donald Trump, and everyone can save the republic. See you guys.